Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in person and also online. My name is Sang Kim, Director of Communications at KEI. For those of you visiting KEI for the first time, welcome. And of course, as a first timer, I would like to give you a little introduction of KEI, what we do as an organization. So KEI is a policy institute and outreach organization that promotes dialogue between the United States and South Korea. The E stands for economics, but we do cover a wide range of issues beyond economics. So we talk about the security, politics, cultural issues, and social issues as well. And just simply put, you can remember us as Korea Everything Institute because we really do cover everything that has to do with Korea and the U.S.-Korea relations. You can visit our website, kei.org. We're also doing an event tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at the same room. So we will be discussing different trilateral relations in the Indo-Pacific region. We'll be talking about the U.S., South Korea, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan, and China, which is a very hot topic at the moment, and also North Korea, Russia, and China relations. So these are all very timely topics organized by my colleague Clint Work in the back. So hopefully you come back tomorrow morning, but also we live stream all of our events. So there you can access them on our YouTube page as well. And then part of the Korea Everything Institute, like I said, we cannot not talk about K-drama. So we're really excited to have this event co-hosted by Council of Korean Americans tonight, featuring Jeanie and Chill. And as all of you know, May is the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I think I said that in one go. And Mental Health Awareness Month. So this is really timely event for all of us to discuss all of that and really looking forward to it. And we really appreciate CKA for inviting us to be part of this event. And I will be introducing Dr. Abraham Kim, the Executive Director of CKA, for his opening remarks. I had the pleasure of working with Abe and Linda when they were at KEI a long time ago. And I really learned a lot from them, both personally and professionally, and I really appreciate their partnership over the years. Fun fact, Abe was actually part of the interview committee when I first started my job at KEI 11 years ago. So I am forever grateful for the opportunity that Abe gave me, being able to start my career, and here I am 11 years ago. So you might not remember all the conversations we had, but I really appreciate all the guidance and support he has given me over the years. And I'm pretty sure, a lot of other Korean Americans who know Abe will say the same thing. So Abe, thank you so much for your leadership and support, and welcome to KEI. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. So over to you, Abe.
Wow. Thank you for those generous introduction. My name is Abraham Kim. I'm the Executive Director for the Council of Korean Americans. And tonight we're hosting tonight's event. And some of you may be hearing our organization, the Council of Korean Americans, or CKA, for the first time. But it is an organization that celebrates leadership. Leadership for our Korean American community, leadership for our Korean culture, leadership for celebrating our culture and our heritage. And as a leadership organization, we are here in DC to really amplify that voice and that culture. And so we're so happy and proud that we can be a part of today's program. And also tonight, both Chill and our star speaker, Jeanie, are also Council of Korean American members as well. So we're so proud to be part of this, not only this celebration, but also amplification of this wonderful work. So, I mean, what better way than to celebrate Korean culture, Korean drama, and particularly in this month, as Sang mentioned, this month is the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and it's a month full of wonderful activities and programming and a lot of different things going on throughout the city in Washington, D.C. But for those of you who are interested in continuing to learn more about the culture, since Sang advertised a KEI program, I'm going to advertise a CKA program. We have a virtual program coming up on Thursday, May 16th, and it's called Modern Love and Dating, the business and technology of connecting people. And we have some of our speakers will be Dawon Kang, who is the co-founder of Coffee Meets Bagel, the dating site, as well as if those of you who are Netflix fan of Love After Divorce. Sorry, I haven't watched it, but Jerome and Bonita of season 4 will also be on that webinar as well, talking about the programs, but also how the business and technology of the dating world and how Korean Americans are involved in that space as well. And also, finally, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the KEI team and also President and CEO Scott Snyder of KEI for hosting us here this evening at this beautiful facility. So thank you very much to Scott and his team, Chang, and others who are wonderful food and a wonderful facility. So thank you again. So I have the honor of introducing our facilitator, who will introduce our speaker, Chil Kong, who is a leader in theater, TV, and film. But I think his most recent role has been the consulting producer for an exciting Nickelodeon program called Bossy Bear. I know all of you are great fans of that show. But what's interesting is that Bossy Bear is an animation putting Korean American culture as the backdrop of this program. And today it is still remains, since its opening, it's still the #1 show in Nickelodeon. So putting Korean culture and Korean American culture, not only in K-drama, but in the animation world too. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chil to introduce our speaker for this evening. Chil?
The person we're all here to see tonight, Jeanie Chang. Jeanie is, oh my goodness, her list of things is just remarkable. And I get tired just reading some of the stuff that she does because it's amazing. She is a speaker. She is also a certified mental health clinician, working with individuals, families, corporations, and communities alike. She deals with a lot of different things, but a lot of it is grief and trauma, and she uses cultural confidence as a focus, a trademarked, developed by Jeanie Chang. At the middle of the pandemic, she did this amazing global shift in which kind of took her into a whole other world, which is then what created Nuna's Nuchi. And she is our favorite Nuna that we have been able to get access to Korean K-dramas and using our mental health as a way to connect to this amazing way of storytelling that has taken over the globe. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone, Jeanie Chang.
Thank you. I feel like I need to bow.
What we needed you to do is like run through the center of the aisle.
Yeah, that's actually more my style, but I'm all dressed up. I was gonna say, but I'm younger than you, so not your Nuna. I just want to point that out. He's my oppa. He's my oppa. But you guys know the term oppa, right?
We've had this discussion. I don't like that term, oppa. Don't like
he
it.
doesn't like that term, but you all know that term from the K-dramas. Yes. So, yep, we're here.
We're not supposed to share age.
Sorry, I know. But they know honorifics, so it's all about the honorifics. I just wanted to clarify that I'm younger.
What's crazy is, from just listening to the previous discussion with the signing, is that y'all are so much more cultured in the Korean culture than I am. Like, just listening to the appreciation which you've learned. And so I guess it's kind of like a great segue. So how did you get into this, and what shifted you from mental health to your global phenomenon now? What was that?
It's so funny. I'm getting a little emotional with you here. Why do you do that to me? Because
we both cry all the time.
Yes, he does cry. He just attended my recent tour. Actually, we had 2 tours in April. Who's going on my tours this year? Raise your hand high. Okay, I think you guys are on the same tour. We'll get you guys. And then who went on my tour? Yeah, I wanted her to point her. Yeah, her story's in my book. But I'm sharing that because I guess you saw a glimpse of the global community, but how Nuna's Nuchi came about. And it's still surreal that I'm doing a talk on a book about K-dramas. it's still surreal when you guys come and I'm signing your book and you're not Korean. And I keep saying that and people are like, okay, you keep saying that, Jeanie. But it's because growing up though, and I think you understand this, and this is why the Council of Korean Americans is a really great organization for just enhancing our, not just our identities and in leadership and the things we do, but there's that belongingness. You guys know that word. And then hence on the cover of my book is the Korean word Chang. And that's really important to your mental health. But that's how Nunasumchi came about. I basically started something for fun. Usually that's how it starts, right? It's for fun. And it was really to talk about something hard like grief and trauma and depression and anxiety, because at the height of the pandemic, or actually at the start of the pandemic, is when I was doing all these remote sessions. Remember, we were in global lockdown, right? And you guys remember. And I was treating at the time a lot of young professionals, college students, because colleges immediately, which is really good, they reached out and wanted their students supported, and young adults were also, part of that, graduate students. And they were the ones that I decided, because of them, I was experimenting. But I'm going to pause there. Pre-pandemic, I did bring K-dramas into my work. I always like to say this because there's a thing in my book where I might sound annoyed, actually, because I don't hide my emotions in my book. If I sound annoyed, I probably was. But people tend to ask me, media tend to ask me now, hey, did you start K-dramas or bring K-dramas into your work because they're trending? So I get a little irritated because I'm like, oh, do you want me to go through my whole life backstory? But I don't. But I share that I can understand why they may think that, or they think they're trending. But for me, they were part of my life, and not necessarily in the trending way, right? Just they helped shape and mold me. So I did bring them into a therapy session and then a workshop pre-pandemic. I make that clear. Pre-pandemic, pre-Squid Game, but because it made sense. But I also make it clear, just because I tie K-dramas and mental health doesn't mean they work for everybody. Like, I don't bring it into every workshop, though actually I would say it's close to 90%. But
we don't really care about the people that doesn't work for.
What?
We're here to share with the people that it does work for.
No, I'm kidding. But no, I don't always bring it in. But it was through those college students that, they were my kids' age, which is so funny. But they were like, you need to put this on a YouTube or something. And I was like, YouTube? I'm not on YouTube. I am, but not really, And then I'm like, I'm not on social media. And I remember kind of laughing, but I thought about it because I had so much, I thought really good things to share that weren't enough in these support group sessions. It was twice a week or 1 hour at a time. It was so much. And what I was doing was bringing K-dramas. Do you guys remember 2020 not Squid Game, sorry. Oh my God. Startup. Who watched Startup? Yes. What team are you on? Do you remember the team? Hello. First lead, second lead. Well, everyone's like all scared to answer no, but because this is live streamed. No. Yeah, I brought it into support groups in college, for colleges, because I wanted to find a fun way to talk about mental health. Because like I said, the overall mood, you would think therapy sessions or support groups are always depressing. No, not necessarily, but during the pandemic, they were extremely so. And college kids were stuck at home, including my kids, So they were like, my parents are downstairs, I don't want to be here. So I decided to do something fun and bring Startup to my sessions. So it's because of Startup, as I like to say, that Nunasumchi was born, because they were like, this is good stuff, put it on a YouTube. Yeah. And that's how it started. And I think I launched it end of 2020. Yeah. So early 2021 is when I decided to start the Instagram, because they were like, you can't just be on YouTube. How are you going to market this?
Yeah, but part of this really is the community building aspect of what you did, right? Yeah. And what it was is because of the wonderful tidbits you're finding in your psychiatry groups, then you would pull those pieces and put it on Insta, which is really interesting because so many of the people here found you through the social media, right?
Yeah. And so I remember that. I remember starting it and scoffing at the idea, but I should never scoff at social media. That's the Gen X in me. That's like the 50-year-old. Okay, actually,
get off my lawn.
I think I was 47 when I scoffed at it, going, "Who's on social media?" But the book you're holding came about because of my social media.
So what was the first social media post thing that you thought?
The first thing that went viral, honestly, was, do you guys know the first thing that went viral? That's usually what happens when you decide to go on a whim and get emotional, was when I talked about Startup, the startup actor. That went viral. I never, and people are like nodding. When I say viral, I literally went live because I was upset for an actor that I liked. I was like, I'm going live, okay? I'm upset for him, and I'm gonna and this is where I decided, I wasn't even thinking. I'm gonna go live, this is what I believe in. And I remember sharing, and I think he had just come off of playing Hong Banjan. So did you guys watch Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha?
Yes.
So he just came out of that.
And there was drama around what happened.
That was drama. Right. And so I decided to say something, and that went viral. And that's the start of Nunes when she kind of elevating because of it. Actually, I should meet him, you know?
You should.
You know
because you know that you're the only one that actually defended him publicly besides all those little stars and friends that he had.
I think I just was emotional about the beautiful drama that he just finished. And then 12 hours later or 6 hours later, I woke up to a scandalous news, which, by the way, it's not like I'm endorsing any mistake. Right. But that wasn't what I was talking about. I think I was talking about the character and himself, and then K-dramas, and I talked really about cancel culture. Like I was just talking about how he was so endorsed and loved 24 hours prior, and then it went viral, and then that was the beginning. But I really, again, started it as a way to talk about the foundation of Nunes Ruchi is really to talk about the hard things surrounding mental health and make it more fun and edible, like things that people had a hard time with talking about. And that's how that was early 2021. Yeah.
So was there because I know you use lots of clips and stuff in your sessions too.
I have.
So do you have, what's kind of like your favorite, I guess, emotion and emotional context and like the clip that's associated with it?
I like making people cry. No, I'm not in therapy, but in like workshops, I like evoking emotion because we don't show it enough. And I do tend to talk more in corporate, colleges too, but colleges are much more easy to do that. But if I, just today, I just literally did a virtual workshop. By the way, virtual is cool too. Before I was like, I want to be in person, but virtual is kind of neat. You could do it much more. And I showed 3 clips because it was a K-drama mental health workshop for a corporate organization. And again, the emotion, half of them never saw the drama. They don't even know K-dramas. They came because it was about mental health. But what I loved was them going, I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying. But they're seeing somebody cry. So I show clips, not necessarily of them crying, because you're going to see a clip. No one's crying in the clip that I'm about to show you that I think is really, really, really emotional. But you're seeing things like exuberant joy, or you're seeing like true sorrow that you don't necessarily express in real life unless you're by yourself or with close loved ones. And I'm not saying I want you to walk around like this wailing, crying ball. No, but I just think it's very therapeutic and cathartic when you can see something privately or with people that, that you're close to, or like on a tour group or in a K-drama group like this, and have that shared experience of that emotion that we don't otherwise express ever, really, And I know some people in their most private grief of a loved one's death that have held in their grief for, I'll be honest, years until they watched a K-drama. That story came after my book, but those are the stories I tend to hear from seeing something that they finally and then they said, basically, Jeanie, I haven't stopped crying since I watched Crash Landing. And it was her joke, but it was a very powerful one that she just felt like she had to hold in her grief to be the strong grandmother and the mother and everything that she was. So we don't get to show these emotions.
Yeah.
We really don't, And I think that's why when I do these talks, not corporate talks, but when I do these casual, more heartfelt talks, you do see me get emotional because I have to be very, not non-emotional, but I'm much more, we call it the non-anxious presence. I can't sit there boo-hooing on a corporate workshop. I got to be professional. So I do let it all out in things like this because I'm like, I get to express myself too. Because obviously it's just not normal to hold that all in. And that's why K-dramas, and they do it so well.
But it's the unfiltered, the authentic self that you present.
Yeah, totally.
But let's show this clip. Let's show the clip. Let's go.
Hold on though. Okay, so do you guys know the answer to this? Oh, they got to turn that way.
Yeah. But the folks online see it. They see
they see it online. Do you know?
Squid Game?
Yeah, Squid Game, yeah. And I don't think it'll change any while, but I do share this.
I think another.
No, it's still,
it's still number one?
The Netflix. Wow, you thought it was,
Queen of Tears, I think, beat it.
No. This is still number one.
Okay.
Yeah. Queen of Tears, honestly, globally didn't do as well. As well as it did in Korea. It's still doing great.
Yeah.
So you can't doubt my data. I do my research. So Squid Game is number one. But because of the elevated status of K-dramas, it's made my work easier in the sense of, if you're going to hire me, I'm going to bring in the K-drama. I don't even ask you anymore. Now I'm like, oh, sure. So I just have to make sure the audio works for 3 clips that I'm bringing in. They're like, what? I go, yeah. If I'm going to talk about resilience, I have 3 resilience clips. So I do show clips because, you want to show clips now? A clip now? Okay.
We can also sit in our feelings too.
No, I want to.
Just so you all know, we often do this a lot. Like when we're sitting down talking, we just have to have tissues with us because we talk about some K-drama event or moment, or she'll share a clip, and the second, and I know exactly what she's gonna play, and I just start like weep. I do, Jeanie, I do.
Okay, maybe you do. But I want to share this term, because I think this is what you also experience when you're watching the show. You are seeing this unfold in the relationships. And by the way, it's not always like a positive feeling, because you could have, let's talk Queen of Tears. Who watched Queen of Tears? Yeah. So you have some hard feelings with your own mother or the daughter, and the mother-daughter complicated, but there's still that Chang because it's still your family. So I also wanted to point that out because you could feel it. And obviously, as you see their relationship, in some sense, go through some change, then you also see that playing out. But this is why this had to be on my book cover, to give you a little bit of glimpse of how the whole book came about. Yeah, I went, how'd you find me? And the person was like, well, somebody recommended you, and then somebody attended one of your talks, and then they go, this is kind of creepy. Oh yeah, we've been on your social media for 4 months now. And I was like, interesting. This is kind of creepy. But then let's talk to you about the book. So that's how it started. And then the process took a little bit of a while I had to still go through a proposal and all that. But what I really liked was they really understood the concept, which is why I love the publisher. But when I saw the cover of the book, so when they do these covers, they give you 6 covers. And I remember looking at all of them and being all stressed going, they look the same, because I'm not very creative. And I was like, except for the red colors or the purple colors, I was like, I have to have purple, or I think the purple and blue made sense, or the teal made sense. But then they were like, look at the fonts. They're all different. I was like, they all look the same to me. But it was missing something. And I thought, can I have like Park Seo-joon or something on the front cover? I mean, I felt like I needed like some Itaewon class, whatever. I needed some K-drama representation. And then I thought of it, Chang. And so I just said, can I have this word, but in Korean? And they're like, and then I think she said something like, well, I'm not sure how that's I think they said something like how that's gonna sell. I went, everything else is English, just that letter, because right next to it says Belongingness on the cover. So I was like, can I have that? That would mean more that's my book. And then they didn't answer me for like 7 days or something. I was like, what? Why is there no answer?
On the back. I'm
thinking
that doesn't make
they're
any
ghosting
sense.
me, or like. But then I just waited, and then next thing I know, I got 3 covers with that, and they gave me 3 different covers. They go, these are your final covers. What do you think? And then I chose the one with the purple and the teal. But I'm sharing this because it represents a lot. And even as a child, when I disliked being Korean American, you guys have heard that story where I really struggled. And I think a lot of people do. You struggle with who you are. And that's why it's still surreal when I see people going, who was it that came up to me and said they're learning? Who's Tybee? Where's Tybee? I remember your name. I'm good with names. And she's learning Korean. And so she had her name written in Korean. That is still surreal to me. And I'm like, please don't speak Korean better than me. But it's impressive, right? People are like in advanced or medium level. And I'm so impressed with that. But I'm just saying, when you're made fun of for your language, or in some sense, and so I disconnected from my culture pretty early, when you're made fun of, or when they would say, what are you eating? And it's so funny when now I get thousands of DMs, okay, not thousands, but a lot of like, oh, Jeanie, take a look at the kimbap I made. I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, that's pretty. And sometimes I'll share it. Or, oh my gosh, how do you make your kimchi jjigae? I'm like, I don't. No, I'm just kidding. My husband makes it. No. But that's still just what? But so that Chang is coming back. So that part is also my own journey. And so my own journey is in this book, but it's also part of everybody else's. And that belongingness is what holds you together. Think about it. I hope today you make some new friends, because you guys are here because you love K-dramas, I hope.
But it's also the belongingness of this community that you built.
Yeah.
Is a connection that has nothing to do with necessarily who they are in the same way that has to do with they connect to something that you are and what Korean means to you and how you see it, which is, I think, is lovely about this community. And you've built Jung. That's the thing.
Maybe. Yes, I'm like, is that a compliment? I'm not good with compliments. But yes, I was going to say.
Just cry. That was my point. I'm trying to get you to cry. That's my point.
That's funny. Can I ask a question to the audience? Because that's what I do.
Yes.
What's the Chang Yu experience? Meaning, how has watching K-dramas impacted your life, or if we're talking my book, transformed your life, like to the point that I see this joy and people are like, Jeanie, and I know I'm here, but I don't want it so much about me, but I just kind of talk about K-dramas and I tie it to mental health. But what has given you the Chang about the K-dramas? I want to know your own experiences.
So is there a moment that you all had that feeling? And please wait for the microphone to get to you. Anybody?
I really would love for someone to share, unless I start calling out names. Because I know I am very good with names. But yeah, how have K-dramas transformed your life? How about that?
Yeah.
I know, I want to hear. How about one? Who said so many ways?
Me.
Okay, we said we.
Do you remember my name?
Oh, okay. Hold on. Graciela.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I forget the person next to you though. Diane? No, not Diane. What's your name? Hilda. Okay, Graciela.
There are many ways, and one of the ways was some of the dramas they portray their mothers really well, really accepting, or not, right? Mm-hmm. But those when they are like really well, those mothers who are like from while you were sleeping, that mother from, for example, that's really,
while you were sleeping,
yeah. And for the K-drama that is Marry My Husband.
Yeah. Who saw that one?
Oh my God.
Everyone's like,
which is about revenge.
Yeah.
One of your, I think you talk about that, like that feeling of revenge, of after, in my case, after a divorce, is it's okay. It's okay. Like you gave permission to see, yes, it's okay to feel it and to imagine what would be, that the outcome. So that's the feeling.
Yeah, Marry My Husband. Thank you for sharing that. I think you said something really important. It's okay to feel those, I don't know, rage is normal, like anger and stuff. I just only get concerned what you do in it, right? Like, oh, I'm going to plot the death. I'd be like, okay, let's talk about that. But no, yeah, we should feel that. That's like normal. So I think that's what they do well too. And don't you think in one scene in a K-drama, you'll laugh, then I'll cry by the end of the scene, or even get mad when the villain walks in, even though we don't really have villains. But I was thinking Queen of Tears. People.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, what's amazing about all of this is that the reflection of people and what they're feeling is tied to a culture that they are really kind of new to, right? Yeah. And then for us who are in the culture, watching you all do it, and I'm telling you, there's been some surreal moments. Like when I was luckily on Jeannie's tour, Meet Me in Korea with Jeannie, and it was fantastic. But to watch the way non-Koreans interacted with the Korean culture was mind-boggling. And you get to experience that at like all tour.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling. That's the Chang too. But what's so appealing about the Korean culture? I'm just going to turn that out to you. Because I already know, like I see, because people will tell me, and I'll see people going, there's the Namsan Tower. And I'm like, okay, and I'm excited too. Or they're like, remember that's when Lee Min-ho, you guys know Lee Min-ho. So they'll bring up something, I'm going, what scene? And I love it, but what's that tie? There's the Chang there. So I'll continue this. How have K-dramas impact, transform your life, but what have they done in your life too? I'm gonna keep asking that. One was great, I need more answers.
Right there.
Oh, a gentleman. I love it.
Who's got the microphone?
One of the two Koreans, men in this room.
Yay!
Do you have the mic?
Yes!
Does he have the mic? No? Okay.
They got
There
the
you go.
microphone.
Do you
They have the
remember my
microphone.
name?
Yeah. So you're not going to necessarily hear it, but the live audience hears it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we were just talking in the car ride over here about a scene in My Liberation Notes. I'll give you the clip recommendation. I think it's episode 13, minute 37.
Hold on. Episode 13, what?
But one of the themes like I could relate to was kind of parental pressure. And there was a scene where the son just left his job after like 10 years or something like that. And I could relate to that because like I was in a high stress job at the time and I left, just needed a break. I was burning out. And I just remember kind of having the conversation with my father. And of course, like typical, Korean father, he's like, okay, what's next? What's your next plan? And I'm like, Dad, I think I just want to take a little break, after all those years. And there was that scene in the show where he just says, why can't you just recognize the fact that I, worked my butt off for 12 years and I just need a break and you did a good job. Can't you just say that? And I was like, wow, that really hit me. For some reason I started crying. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those moments where I think a K-drama really related to the situation I was in at the time. So
Thank you for sharing that. Let's give them, My Liberation Notes, highly recommend. Yes. How about this side of the room?
Yeah, and despite what everyone, because of K-drama and the way it looks, not all men cry like that. Thank you for that.
You do.
Well, I do, but I do theater, so it's like I have to get in touch with my feelings somehow. But
You're making a point. Not everybody expresses
so,
like
and
that.
I
That's
think
true.
What's important is not just the acknowledgement of that, is the fact that, like, look, that is awesome. Oh my God! I hope you embrace those tears, because sometimes you have to do it in darkness, right? We sometimes we only feel safe to cry in a room that's with the Netflix little TV under the covers, like right. We only feel safe doing it there. But what kind of a change? What kind of force factor of change would it be to be able to look at other men and say, "Dude, that's okay. Just cry."
And you get to see it in K-dramas, right? You see them crying.
Oh my God! The end of My Mister, when he's alone in his house and he understands that he is by himself and he just starts bawling, and
That's how we bonded. We talked about My
That's how we bonded.
It's my favorite, your favorite. It's actually you're really crying. we do have Kleenex. Do we have Kleenex? Actually, that's how I based. I'm getting off topic, but My Mister is the foundation of my title. Who saw My Mister? Raise your hand. Wow, that was the most hands out of the K-dramas I talked about. Yeah. Can I actually also share? It's in my book, but it was the drama also that I bonded with Korean nationals, folks in Korea, when they were like confused by my book. I was like, let me explain in my not so good Korean, and I was explaining it. And you're trying to talk about mental health, which is already hard in Korean. But then I went, what's your favorite K-drama? Or like, what K-dramas do you like? And most were My Mister. I was like, oh my God, I can win them over. Let me win them over. And it's not like they're talking about mental health. They just didn't make that intersection like I did. But hands down, that is where I got a lot of folks to talk about just what they saw, and transformation is what you really see in that drama. If you haven't watched it, it's not necessarily for the faint of heart. It's a little bit melancholy, but I really believe that's the drama where you see someone changing before you, particularly the female, right? But him also, and he talks about his transformation. But that's where the title of my book came from. But I want to hear from people. Oh, yes.
Not only by crying, we express all our emotions. There's a topic that people criticize about the K-dramas is the public display of affections. Mm-hmm. In some dramas, they're lacking, like we don't get enough of the characters showing their emotions. I imagine one scene in Crash Landing when they are sitting, drinking, and he says, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here, get married. And we ask, why don't they just hug each other? Like, that has something that moved me from the K-dramas. Like, made me reflect on myself. Do I show enough affection to my children, to my friends? And that's something that I wanted to ask you. Do you see that also from the K-drama, some examples?
Oh, I love that you share that. So I'm hearing that you're just, you saw that, didn't see enough affection. You thought, am I like that? I really like that. Okay, so do I say the Korean culture? Tends to be a little more conservative overall. You know, they refrain a lot, but this is me now at age 50, understanding how that refraining of emotion is actually very powerful. They actually, just like you see when the harmony puts food on your plate, but they don't say anything. That's a very huge show of love, but I understand that now. But some other folks don't understand that because they feel like that's not enough. So you're talking to me as a Korean American that says you see powerful displays of it, just maybe not outwardly, but you see it through the stories, right? You see them where they're crying, and then you see how much Hyunbin loved Son Ye-jin. I mean, I'm talking about the characters, you know, but what are their characters' names? I don't even know their characters' names. I'm using their real names, but you see the refraining of the emotion, which can be also very powerful, but it's also part of the culture. But I'm also going to say this, the younger generation shows much more. If we're going to compare age, so my age and up tend to be more conservative in that way. We don't show as much. It's how we were raised. But the younger generation, we were just in Korea. I'm just telling you now, those headbands that they wear and the look the world and them twinning, that is all over Korea. You know, and to the point where my husband's like, when we're at Look the World, he was like, please don't make me wear that headband. And I did it because we were both tired, but we're seeing the men put them on and then they're like showcasing, couples showing it with each other. But that's really important to me. And then you see mothers and their teenage sons holding hands. So I saw that in Korea, but I also noticed it more. So to answer your question, I want to say it's a culture that generally doesn't outwardly show, but it's very inward and in very different ways. And that's part of the culture. But I don't think that's neither bad nor good, but I want to share this, that it is also a good reminder that we could show more affection because we see in the K-dramas, the kids wanting more of that or going, Mom, do you accept me? Or when you shared about the My Liberation Notes and feeling like, can't you acknowledge that I've worked this hard? I'm like that too, even with my own parents. So that's the catch, that's the balance that's hard. But yes, it's very similar to the culture.
Yeah, I think part of that too is the language, right? Because in the English language, love, one syllable, 4 letters. In Korean, 사랑해, it's 4 syllables.
Yeah.
It's like purposely trying to make sure that you mean it when you say it. Do you know what I mean? Like you better get all the syllables right, or it's you're not doing it right. And I think that's the thing that that's the thing we forget is, you know, that there is a wide spectrum of emotions that we all carry, and all the generations are split within. And you know, like my parents, I think the things that I get choked up about really is I didn't really understand until like years just recently when what she really meant by saying "먹었어?" like did you eat? So that's her way of saying I love you. Like, and I just remember times when I was such a, excuse the language, but it's like an a-hole to my mom. It's like, yes, I ate, Mom, but come on, I'm doing fine. I'm a working artist. Like but really she wasn't saying, like, did you eat, you dumb kid? She was saying, I love you, I care for you, and by saying this, I want to make sure that you're eating. Like, that's how I show my care. And I look back all those times, and I'm just like, you're such an idiot.
But we realize isn't that great that through the K-dramas you watch and you realize things too? I still want to hear from some of you guys, but I will hear. There's
the hands are going up. Yes.
Yeah, I would love it.
So let's go over here on this side.
Is it Amy? Amy.
Yay.
Hello. You both touched on it a little bit. And I think for me, when it comes to K-dramas, one, it takes me out of the place I'm in, right? So that's one thing, because I know it's all make-believe. Being a second generation Korean American, I know Korean men are not all like that. I know Korean women are not all like that the Tibur don't all live, a certain way, or, all of that. But I think with K-dramas, one of the things that pulls me in the most is when they're eating, it's not just K-dramas. You could watch, I'm Army, so I'll watch some of their lives and they're eating and I'm watching them. One, I want to eat doesn't matter what time, but it brings you back to almost like the last time you had that meal or who you had that meal with. And like you said, when a parent, whether it's your mom, grandma, aunt, or you're visiting a friend's home, they cut the fruit. They bring out that plate of fruit and it's just a silent gesture, but it's the biggest gesture. And I think for my mom, I look back because she grew up very poor, where 7 kids, they had 6 eggs, had to split it between all 9 of them kind of thing, right? So for her, every time she wants to give food, wants to feed someone, and yes, it might be with, oh, you look like you're gaining weight. Here, have some food, right? I think we're all used to that conversation too, right? You come somewhere and your aunts are all happy to see you and they say, oh, you must be happy, you've gotten fat. Have some food, right? But it's that have some food. And I don't know if it's because our parents, the generation they were in, it was kind of war torn. Many of them left, for a reason. And so just being able to have the luxury to feed someone, I think really hits home for them. And so then, like you said, knowing that now, it makes you just more grateful for it. But that's kind of what draws me in. And it's not necessarily that the meals are emotional in the K-dramas. It's just you're sitting and going, I want to eat it because it looks really good. But it's just the social kind of fabric to the society of really enjoying conversation with the meal or enjoying having a coffee at a really nice cafe, because you can't do that here. You got Starbucks. Like, that's not fun, right? So it adds so much more vibrancy to everything that you drink and eat. And then when they're drinking, that takes you back to all sorts of memories. So like that part's really fun for me too. It's like, oh yeah, last time I had soju. I keep that memory to myself, but it evokes memories. And so I think that's part of the draw as well, at least for me.
Yeah. Maria just yeah. And you're also seeing Chang in the dinner meals. I would love to hear from you guys. I feel like you're pressing to say something, Liz.
I'm trying to formulate.
Yeah. Can you give it to Liz?
Go ahead, give it. Yeah.
Liz and Rod. Okay, both of you say something.
Is there statistical evidence that Koreans are less violent as a result of Korean drama? Say
it again. Is there statistical evidence that Koreans are less violent because thanks to K-dramas?
Yeah. In the United States, there's tremendous, gun violence, people shooting strangers, that type of thing.
Well, there's some violence in Korean movies. I mean, the Korean films are very different, but
I don't know if there's statistical evidence, but I think one of the things that might help you understand the global acceptance of K-dramas, the numbers say it's like 8% female.
K-dramas, yeah.
K-dramas.
Written by women. Written
by women. And then also it's like there's an appreciation of the female gaze that's in there that I think that Korean men finally get to be put in a place seen by Korean women who like what they look at, which is very different than what before. When it's done by other people, non-Koreans, they look at Korean men or Asian men with a disparaging eye. And so what we finally saw is, these hunks who are like, and I'm looking like, yeah, that's what, okay, I don't look like that, but that's what we look like. But, so does that have anything to do necessarily with, there's lots of Korean angst and there's still aggression, there's still, we have a problem with misogyny still very much to this day. Is there any evidence, quantitative evidence, that shows that there's a less degree of that now? No. I think, though, that I feel like, and this is as a man watching this, is that I feel like there's a more greater appreciation of women and women's stories in Korea and the United States. And because of that, I think there's the eventual impact is that because of the great appreciation, we will empower the half of our community that they should be empowered. Right?
But is there a reason why you asked that?
Yeah.
Curious.
Just worried about violence in this country.
That's actually in my book.
We watch American television and we'll see just the coming attractions are, Violence after a while.
I think, so I'll share this from a mental health perspective. I actually think K-dramas or Korean dramas specifically focus on the character. They focus on the people, which is, I think, very driven by Korean society, hence the Chang. So you don't see as much of the plot. We see these silly plots. I say silly because it's the Chebo, it's that scenario or a mystery that's there and that's part of the story. But that's maybe like less than half of the story, where maybe Western television, the plot is the story, like someone murdering somebody and whatever. But here it's about the person, learning their own struggles or growing, or My Liberation Notes, those three siblings learning about themselves and freeing themselves, right? Their own thinking, their emotions and everything they're going through. So really, that's what they do very well. That's why that's why they resonate. So I think that's why we don't tend to see so much of that, because it's not about the plot. That is like the side part of the story. That's there to enhance the story, but we're really watching the characters. And that's what I love about it. And that's why we resonate. And that's why you fall in love with whoever, or you hate. Sometimes I'm like, okay, it's just a villain. When you get people going, we can't stand him. I go, he's a good actor. Yeah. This is the Queen of Tears guy. You feel sorry for him. He got some hate mail. But yeah, he's obviously, you're relating so much with what he did in the story, Liz, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I feel kind of conflicted when I watch the dramas, because I grew up in a very liberal household, and so when I watch them, I find myself, it's kind of strange, not really relating completely to the people, but kind of admiring things like respect for the older generation, and there's a social hierarchy that's obeyed, and how they manage to keep all this stuff straight and relate to each other and keep. Well, not always peace in the house, but I know that the aim is, keeping peace in the house. And I just have that's what kind of gets it for me, is this admiration that here I come from a kind of a crazy, disorganized society, and it seems to me from watching the K-dramas that there's just more organization, there's more peace.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of the appeal. If you started reading my book, I wrote in there that the K-dramas, really the appeal started in the pandemic, in the sense of the numbers tripling, because the US, particularly, or the Westerners, were looking for something different. They were disillusioned with what was happening in the USA, or they were upset with politics. I mean, these are folks that I spoke to. A lot of you guys wrote to me. I would see it all over, and that's part of the appeal. And I think that's great. I mean, it's something different, and people were ready for it. And then, Netflix algorithm. So you watch this, so let's watch this. Once you watch one, it suggests others, right? And I know that's how some people found me too, which I think is funny. They're like, the Netflix or the Instagram algorithm, you popped up. And I'm sharing that because I also think at a time when it popped up, and, you hear people going, oh, it's not American. Oh, it's not in English. I'm going to watch it. And I've heard it so many times going, they put it on there, and then they went, oh, I need the subtitles. But then they were hooked, because what they saw was something comforting at the time of the pandemic. We needed that. Like they wanted something that wasn't R-rated, where I say G to PG rated. Your kid could walk in and watch it with you and not be like, oh, let's pause it. Or you wouldn't be sitting on the seat of your pants going, oh, it's because you see an explicitly sex scene or something in the first episode. You don't see that in Korean dramas. And when you see them kiss in like episode 2, you're like, what? They kissed? I mean, do you ever watch that and you're like, they're supposed to kiss in episode 9. That's the formula. But that is actually part of your mental health, to watch something that's not graphic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think one of the things that we talked about was that these are stories that are emotion driven and character driven. Like in Western storytelling in the United States, action drives the emotion. Things happen, I feel something. And you barely get a chance to even feel it. They're like, no, things got to keep happening or I'm going to lose their attention. That's the attitude that I get from a lot of people who are executives of story, who wants to buy these shows. And when they see a drop of emotion, when they see a place where you get to sit in the emotion, that people get really weary of it, because they're like, oh, that's too much emotion. I need to get to the action. But what K-dramas really do well is we get to sit in the emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the first time I saw one was when, you've seen those, where it's like the camera turns around them one time and then stops and then pushes into them as they're still having the same feeling. And then they stand on it and just watch them as the wind blows past them. It's like, okay, good. I got the shot. Let's move on. And that was my American Western storytelling. But the second I stopped that and was like, oh no, but you need to sit there. You need to watch them feel the pain. Once you connect to that, then you're just like...
The pain and also the love when it's like you're just staring.
Because it's
like,
complex.
I just discovered I like you. Yeah. And so they do that really well. What is like 5 minutes of the last episode of, you're like, but then you watch it and you want to see that. I wanted to share this. This is also what K-dramas do well. When you watch something, it's not about you. Not just Liz. I mean, it's not about you. You are watching a story that you may resonate with. In fact, a character may do something that you actually don't relate to, but you relate to the emotion. And this is actually a therapeutic concept where it helps people process their own difficulties. It's not about you, but we make it about us. We're like, it's about this person. It's about Jeanie. It's about Chill. But it's really about maybe the depression or the family conflict, or in Queen of Tears, the grief that consumed every family member in a different way, you know, particularly the nuclear family, right? Hong Haeun's main family, that consumed them and really impacted their relationship. But, you know, the mom made it about the daughter kind of thing, but it really was about her own grief and trying to deal with the loss of her son, which I was about to say, a spoiler, but you know, that's why I wanted to share this. The problem is the problem. And this is really important. The person is not the problem, even though we think the person is. But that's what also K-dramas allow us to going, wait a second, I didn't know that I've heard this all the time. I didn't know I was angry, Jeanie, until I saw something. And actually I go, oh, did you see the person angry? They're like, no, actually, I just saw the person happy. And I realized I was angry. That's the stories I get. And that's some of them in the book. So anyway,
that's what I love about your book, is that it does tackle this problem, because this is a real problem right now in the United States, is that we talk about people and things and actions as the problem and not actually look at the problem itself. Yeah. And we have a real breakdown of conversations because of it. And this is why it's like, I love what you talk about in your book, because now it's I got to feel the emotions. I get to connect to it in a way that's relatable and it's separate from me. And then now I can deal with the problem by itself. So that's why I love what you've done.
So I just wanted to this is in the book, but I wanted to giving you spoilers of the book.
You're changing lives,
Let's
Jeanie.
take a look at this clip, shall we? Queen of Tears.
I have to say the difference between European actors and Korean actors in particular, it's hard to do multiple emotions because it's complex. Right? What the Koreans do really well is that they do them in quick succession, so that it's not one emotion. It's not 5 emotions feeling at once. It's that you can see them process their emotions.
You know, that's realistic.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, since we're running out of time, before I show the final clip, which I think is very dramatic. Do you guys have questions for me? Yes, Heidi.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Oh, yeah.
I want to flip the switch on. I understand. Flip the switch in a way, because you say, you know, you're so amazed by all these Westerners being, you know, enamored with Korean dramas and things like that. The first Korean drama that I watched, I immediately identified with. I am a Jewish girl from New Jersey. And the minute I saw, you know, it looked to me as like, well, Korean moms and Jewish moms, different accent, same chutzpah. You know what I mean? Like, but this is what I'm saying is it's not so foreign,
right?
You know, I mean, the fact that you know, especially with like the Jewish community and the Korean community, we've both, you know, had hardships. Yeah. We've both struggled to keep our identity, to keep our language, to keep our culture. Yeah, very similarly. And, you know, I watch a lot of these dramas and sometimes I watch them and I get the perspective of maybe why my mom is the way she is. Because Jewish mothers are very tough. I am a grandchild of 4 Holocaust survivors.
Oh.
So you can only imagine the mental that comes with that. And I watched, the communication issues with my grandparents and my parents, the intergenerational issues between my grandparents being born in Europe and being one way, and my parents being raised in America, and then them raising their American children. I found so many commonalities between them that I really felt like, yes. And I started to learn Korean because I was like, I'm watching it so much. And, because, we have Yiddish and it's like the ajumas go, I go. And the bubbies say oy vey. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing to express upset or shock or whatever it may be. So I wouldn't say, and even we did Lunar New Year together because I started learning Korean and I found Kyungmi and we became language partners. And so she came and celebrated the Passover Seder with my family. And we did.
Her Korean's going to be better than us.
Yeah. And we did.
Her Korean's going to be better than ours.
Yeah.
Now,
make us look bad. No.
Darn it.
But like the Lunar New Year, my mom called me up. She's like, what are you doing today? I said, oh, Mommy, I'm making kreplach with my friends. Kreplach is the Yiddish word for mandu.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
So,
So you see, you relate. And you know what? I love it. No, I should. By the way, I think in the book I talk about Nigerian families also relate. So I think I totally agree with you. I think the surrealness. So I think I'll clarify a little bit. Just the surrealness comes with. This is probably when I might get emotional. Is where maybe in some sense, I'm not saying you weren't, but the Korean was somewhat invisible when I was growing up. In the sense of, I kid you not, I'd be like, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'll just say Korea, because that's probably what they want me to say. Korea. They're like, oh, you mean Japan? I'd be like, no, I just said Korea. China?
North or south?
And I kid you not, this is in the 80s. And I grew up in a white suburb that was very like the token Asian family. I love where I grew up. But when you're seen as unusual, that's what I was talking about, why it's still surreal. Because it's not like I was, and I don't think I was even bullied or anything. It was just more like, we don't understand what that thing is you're making. I'm like, kimchi, right? Now it's so popular.
But now you see it like, as my parents grew up, my parents didn't feel American all the way, and they didn't feel European all the way. And like, you've got kimchi, we have gefilte fish. Like, that's just as off-putting.
What is it?
Actually, what is it? It's the fish balls that you put in the
I love that you
shabu-shabu.
leaned over to your Korean friend.
Right.
It was like,
I know, I love it.
I love that.
What is it? It's literally, I walked into H Mart and I go, oh my God, we don't have to make gefilte fish anymore. What is it? It's like a fish. It's like the fish meatball.
Odeng?
Fish meatballs.
Yeah,
but they sit in this horrific jar on the shelf. And but that's
I think that's our next event.
But see, I grew up and my grandmother made it fresh, which is completely different than what, we say the Americana would eat in the jar. And so and my grandparents were very much treated very differently, they were treated as the refugees fresh off the boat by the American Jews that had been here for generations before.
Yeah.
So it's not so foreign.
No, it's not so foreign. Yeah. And there is a story in my book, which is later on, which I hope you get to read, that it's a young influencer, Max Not Beer, talks about that. Yeah. And he, the term intergenerational trauma came from the Holocaust, the term of the Holocaust. So there's so much of that similarity. So I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I love it.
I came to peace with my mom.
Oh, did you? Did you see A Good Bad Mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's my mom.
That's exactly.
We have a question over here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing Taibi. Taibi, which was in her book in Korean.
Question.
Yes.
The issue of violence came up earlier. And also earlier you discussed the show My Mister.
Yes.
Have you looked at or considered the relation between what goes on in K-drama and then the real actors and actresses and their real life? It's a very sad story.
Yeah, you're talking about the suicide.
Yeah, I addressed it.
They have one of the highest suicide rates.
They do. They actually the number one suicide rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's affecting key actors and actresses in the world of K-drama.
Oh, totally. And in K-pop. And I do tie that a lot into my work in the sense of if you see in K-dramas, the high pressure, all the concept of the chaebol continuing all that legacy, all that exists in real life. I think that's why also in some sense, as Korean Americans, we relate so much to it, that pressure. And that is why the big goal is when I'm talking to Koreans, my husband's watching me in my Korean and he's like this. He's like, oh my gosh, because I'm decent, but when you're trying to talk clinically, I am passionate with Koreans to get to understand my book, because I would share, hey, you guys know the stress in our society. And there's always that understanding of like, yeah, we're so stressed out, but that's actually what you see in the K-dramas, the trauma of their lives, a story. But then you do see them navigating through it. I also see that in real life. But then the high suicide rate comes from the fact that they can't share, right? We in the US or just other cultures can share a little bit more. We're much apt at that. But even in some sense, we still have a long way to go. And Korea is just very behind. And they agree. It's great to have these conversations. My book now, the next step is being translated in Korean. And I just hope that in some sense they go, oh, this is normal. That we feel so much stress that we get to the point that we feel like our life is not worth it. By the way, that's a very common experience. When you're so overwhelmed, you're like, I don't want to be here. And I'm not saying you're suicidal, but you can get to that point. But then you get to that point when you don't feel the belongingness. In the Korean culture, it's so like, let's not ask you. That actor, I have an inside thing with that actor where I found out in the sense of behind the scenes where it's exactly what I thought happened. No one asked him during his time of crisis how he was doing. But that's the Korean way, meaning not because they don't care. They're like, let's not bother. You know what? Ooh, it's a hard time. We don't want to shame him and ask him that tough question. And we do that here too. But in some sense, the biggest regret of industry insiders are telling me things like, why didn't we ask him? And I go, that's true. And that's always the biggest regret that anybody asks. Why didn't we spend more time with that person? And so there's a lot of regret in that. And unfortunately, that death now in some sense has spurred the industry to take action. So sometimes it takes some horrific tragedy. And we see that in the US, like a crisis, there is an opportunity for change. So yeah, I always make that tie that's there. And I see it in real life. And so, yeah.
One last question.
Oh, sure. Rhonda.
Hi, Jeanie. Yeah, I want back to belongingness. It's kind of a comment and a question, but one of the things I noticed watching K-dramas, I mean, it's changed my life in a lot of ways, but is the belongingness. Like, I feel like you're a part of like this global community where everybody's watching something at the same time. And I have Korean friends in my life who are like, okay, this is what everyone's watching in Korea right now. And then all of a sudden everyone starts watching it here in the US and we're talking about it. And I never, as a Westerner who grew up in the United States, I never had that kind of like global connection that everyone's kind of enjoying something simultaneously. I was in Seoul this time last year at a Korean spa in Gangnam, and everyone was watching Dr. Cha, like sitting on the floor, all the ladies, everyone's watching Dr. Cha. And I'm like, oh, I can't watch it. I'm not on that episode yet. So I just like walk past the TV. I'll watch it when I get back home. But yeah, just the connectionness that happens just from people coming together, watching the dramas. And I know you've probably experienced that in your work as well.
Of course. And I think that's the bottom line here. I think that's how the tours came about. Not to advertise the tours, but why would I do a tour if I didn't get a community that was yearning to go? And we try to make it an experience. You're not just seeing the Namsan Tower. You are at the Namsan Tower talking about the K-dramas there with 20 other people who are talking about their experience watching that K-drama. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's still fascinating to me, just globally, right?
Well, yeah,
the connection.
That's the thing that you do, Jeanie, is that the experiences have a different level because what I appreciate about you is that everything that you do has an extra part of it that allows us to connect, not just to you, but to each other. And it's something that I noticed about you the first time we met, and how you were able to make me literally like.
He was bawling about my mister. I was like, what just happened? I just asked one.
And I was saying the same thing. It's like, I don't even know you.
Yeah, we barely knew each other. And he's like, and then remember that scene? And I was like, I do, but oh my goodness, yeah. Speaking of my,
it's a common denominator within the community that she's built, and I just can't just hear that celebrate that.
I think I'm just a facilitator, but I really want to say. Yeah, I do see it in Korea too. It's fun when everyone's watching Queen of Tears playing live and I don't know, someone was doing my hair and I'm like, do you watch K-dramas? They're like, in Korean, they're like, duh. I was like, oh, okay. Let me rephrase that question. What are you watching? They're like, Queen of Tears. And I went, let's talk about it. And that's what the Korean, but still there's that belongingness. And then someone turned around in the hair salon who was from Turkey, I think. And she's like, I'm watching that too. You know, you can interrupt a conversation with a K-drama watcher. Where do you have that? Where do you have that? Isn't that great?
Can we just, however, because Jeanie just does not know how to take a compliment. Everyone, let's just give a round of applause.
That's the Korean family, right? You don't get compliments. Did you get compliments from your Jewish mom? I didn't get compliments.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I just want you to be able to sit in that like we do in every K-drama.
That's right, yeah.
Emotion.
The most uncomfortable thing is someone reading my bio. I'm like this at the corporate workshops or when, I guess I should say.
See, I knew that about you. This was, you want it short or really long? And I was like, and then she's like, middle.
But thank you. No, and so I hope you enjoyed the book. And I wanted to end on this clip. So it's just an example of a clip that I tend to show in all settings for have people to feel, just to see something, an example of something joyful. Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I want to say something, but I would need the microphone.
Yes.
Okay. So, what comes to mind is that I think a suggestion would be that somebody would write a K-drama on you.
Me?
Yeah, no, I'm serious because I'm really thinking that, this mental illness thing and the way you handle it, and you are Korean, it would really make sense. So think about it, please.
Oh, you want me to write a K-drama?
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
We're working on something.
You almost brought me to tears going, please do it. I'm like, huh. Can you help me? You're in the field.
I just want to thank you. This has been a really magical night for me. And it's just been really hard to find people who are so passionate about K-dramas. And it's a world that I've delved into. And it's just really wonderful to be in a community. And I'm just wondering how this can be continued because so many of us kind of live in isolation. It's provided a sense of community that, maybe some of us have lost. And, so I'm just asking, of a way to be able to continue this moving forward so that we don't feel so isolated.
Well, your community is really, really interactive. So her community is really interactive.
I'm thinking, because I enjoy it too. Yeah. If you think of ways, let me know to keep doing this. I mean,
that'd be really wonderful.
And
thank you.
And just so you know, you're not the only one. There are lots of people who have expressed that, and there are a lot of people fans like me who are trying to find something for Jeanie, and we're gonna we love this. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for being here. Okay, so they're giving me the time notice, so we'll just we'll conclude, right? We're good. So thank you.